Hi there, and welcome back to the channel. So I'm back behind the drums, getting ready to do a re-record on the sort of the theme song of the channel. That's that. That's the thing I'm going to record. I'm going to start over on that tune. I hate doing that, but what happened was I recorded this song and a song called The Fighter really early on, like, I don't know, almost a year and a half ago or something. And after that, I sort of changed directions because it was right around the time that I got the Stratocaster going. This might have been as long as 2 years ago. And so I started getting better on the Zoom, getting better at recording, making these videos. And I probably recorded 4 tunes, none of which I'm going to use because I just ended up not liking any of the songs. But the songs, now that I look back on them, embrace the disaster as a gift. When I look back on those songs now, instead of feeling like it's wasted time because I don't like the songs, they weren't very good songs, instead of that, I see it as a time period where I was progressing as a recordist, getting better and better with the Zoom, figuring out how to use everything, and getting better signal-to-noise ratio. I think that's the main difference, is now I just get a better signal, taking extra care, which is what I'm going to show you how I do this today. Done it a bunch of times, but I feel like the same way I keep recording and getting better at that, I think the newer videos get better than the older videos because I've learned how to do it better. So I just keep doing the same thing. It seems like new people watch the newest videos anyway. They don't go back and dig deep, and some of those videos are poorly done. They don't look as good and stuff. So I kind of just sort of repeat it. But I like doing this because I think a lot of people are intimidated by recording drums because they're worried about exactly how to do it, how many mics you're going to need, phase issues, this and that. And when I originally got into recording my own drums, I wanted to do something super simple because I didn't have a lot of gear or a lot of know-how, and I still don't have a lot of gear. Got a little bit more know-how, but all you really need is like these simple basic cheap mic stands. You got 4 of them going here. 1, 2. There's a little one out there for the bass drum, but you could use any type. You don't have to have a special little one. And then this one over here, and these are all like adjustable boom type microphones. I guess this is like boom type stands. I used to always like for vocals and singing out. I used to always like a straight stand. These types of stands I always get. By the end of the night, I'd broken it or something bad would happen. But if it was a straight one, the only way those got broken was down at the bottom of the bass. If you got too aggressive with those, they'll actually break at the bass. So we're the kind of band that we're sort of hard on mic stands. But you don't need anything fancy in the studio or in this studio. All you need is these cheap mic stands and 4 cheap mics. These mics here are really cool ribbon head mics called Cascade Fatheads. And I don't think this company exists anymore, but I got the whole package. It was like the 2 microphones, a Bloomlin bar, a case, and everything. It was like $350, but this was back in like 2000, probably 5 or 6, 7, somewhere in that range. And I don't think that company's around anymore, but these large, kind of big-headed ribbon mics sound fantastic for guitar cabinets, drum overheads, pretty much everything. I don't love them for these are kind of slow. If you put a faster transformer in there, it might work for vocals, but I don't love it for vocals. It sounds kind of flat for my voice. I usually use this one here, which is a large diaphragm condenser. This is an AKG P220. It's fine. I got it for $100. Those usually run for like $150, and I don't know if this one exists anymore. I bet it does because it's an AKG. But it has a little funny hump in it. I work around it. No big deal. It's fine. Then that one out there is a CAD. Forgot the model designation of it. It doesn't exist anymore either, but it's just a cheap. It was like $38 literally as a bass drum mic, and I think it sounds really good. It's a KDM something or another. Sorry, should know the numbers. The point being, though, is none of them are really anything special. But they are a good design. Good ribbon design here. Large diaphragm condenser, which always sounds really good, especially on like a snare drum, vocals. It sounds good on guitar cabs too, but I've lately been digging the ribbons more for that. And then the cheap bass drum mics. That's 4 microphones. You don't have to worry about phase, and I'll show you how to do that because it's so simple. Making the video about Steve Albini and his passing, I've gone back and looked at some of his videos, and thought about the session that we had with him and all the stuff that he did. And man, when he recorded drums, there were just microphones everywhere. And it was before I started, obviously, before I started with the Zoom. This is in 2004 that we recorded that record. And I just remember that there was freaking drum mics everywhere. He had top mic on the toms, bottom mic on the toms, top, bottom, front and back on the bass drum. He was capturing the beater side, the resonant side. Can't remember if there was a hole in the drum, but I think there was. Had Sennheisers here for overheads. I can't remember if there was like 2 little ones up front and like 2 bigger ones back here. Just can't remember exactly. Snare drum was top and bottom. The hats were separately mic'd. And then, this is the secret, I think, to his drum tone, or his drum sound. Not the tone, but the overall feel and sound of the Steve Albini drum sound. Like if you're listening to something like Surfer Rosa, or on In Utero, the song Serve the Servants. I think it opens the record. But you hear those stick clicks. I think it's a couple stick clicks, maybe 1, 2. And when you hear that sort of natural echo kind of reverberation that happens with the sticks, it's like there's just this natural kind of echo thing, like you're almost hearing the sticks hit themselves twice. That, I think, happens because of those boundary mics he was laying down. He put them on the floor, pretty far out away from the set, several feet out. There would be these boundary mics, they would be on the floor. And they were, I remember reading about it later because I was interested, and I think he was delaying those by like, a fraction of something, like, fraction of a second. Very minimal delay, but just enough to create, and I think the delay is necessary because of the amount of time, amount of space the signal traverses. But that, I think, gives it that extra little magic, that extra room tone slap back that happens, that's just magical with his stuff. But keeping in mind, he was a master at what he was doing, brilliant engineer, and really had to, work his way up to that. Here, like I said, I only have 4 microphones, way less know-how, way less space, and I don't have the incredible room. He always had a really, made sure he had a good room to record drums in. That's a big part of, good drum tone. But here, we've simplified it down to 4 microphones, and it's very simple. And the 2 places that I got inspiration for this and the ability to figure out how to do it were videos on the Recorder Man technique, which is basically just these 2 microphones here, like 2 overheads, and the Glenn Johns method, which is the 60s engineer, producer that did Zeppelin, Eagles, like, pretty much everybody, like did a bunch of significant, major artists from the 60s and 70s. And his method is very simple. I think that's why he ended up not working with the Eagles any further, because they wanted to have each microphone, each drum, because they were kind of particular, and they wanted each drum to be able to be on its own fader. And on this, you only have 4 faders. You got a bass drum fader, you've got the 2 overhead faders, and you got a snare. Well, they wanted, each tom, maybe the cymbals separate, hi-hat separate, and this method does not allow for that. This method is capturing the entire thing kind of together, so you're getting like a segment of the kit with each fader, not each actual, drum. So I think that's why they went with Roger Nichols on for the rest of those Eagles albums, because they wanted to do that. But if you like that Led Zeppelin tone, because the Led Zeppelin sound is where it really shines. Because if you go back and look at pictures of Bonham doing the first record, it's basically like 1 microphone just sitting over the kit. I've seen several pictures like that. And then I've heard of on Led Zeppelin 4, when they were doing When the Levee Breaks, a couple microphones over like near a staircase. So it's really using the room and the space, not the individual micings, but more like this technique of miking, capturing like a live type of recording, and you're capturing the room tone. Big thing with this style is it captures the room tone. So you have to be a really good drummer and in a good space to make the most of it. But I think it's a really cool, simple way to do things without screwing up the phase. And the way the recorder man works is you're trying to create the equidistance between the snare, it's like from the bass drum and the snare, to these two microphones. And you can't see this one very well back here from the wide angle, but it's sitting kind of low, and this one is like 2 drumsticks high. So what I do is I stack the drumsticks like so, like in the middle of the snare drum, and without moving the base of the stick, you can't move down here, you just pivot or tilt. But you can't move your position, you got to keep that still. But you measure here, like this, and I've already done this, made sure it's a little tight. I'm probably going to push it up just a tad, or even better, just move this up just a little bit, and that should get it to where there's a little bit of room right there. So now, without moving, the bottom of the bass, I'm just going to tilt the whole thing over. I'm going to see where this microphone is, and it's about 2 inches away. So I just kind of gently, this is a pain, and it's hard to get it right, especially on camera. So I'll go back to here again, measure 1 inch. So I'm moving it at about 1 inch at a time. Let's see if this will do it. Here, move over here, boom. Close enough for the camera. Obviously I'm going to reset this when I actually record it. But the idea is that it's here, measuring here, 2 sticks, one atop the other, from the snare drum to the capsule of the microphone, tilt over to make sure we have the same distance with this microphone. So now these two are the same distance from the snare drum. You could use a string too to do it, like a long string, you press it down on the snare drum. I've also seen people where they connect it to the bass drum, then to the snare, and then here, and measure here. But that's all the recorder man is. It's just 2 microphones, and this could work great if you had a power drummer, where he's just slamming it. It's like trying to get a live recording. I did that a couple times when we were trying to do live recordings of our covers. I was trying to mic the drums, and our drummer was so powerful. He's just John. He's like just killing it. So I had to just eliminate this microphone and use I couldn't use the really sensitive microphone. I went with like a 58 and kind of far back. And this worked great because it was kind of away. It wasn't like close up and peaking. So if you've got a really powerful drummer, that can work. What I started not liking about it is there wasn't a prominent snare tone. So this is another little thing I picked up from Albini. 3 inches from the lip of the snare. And I made this little mark on the stick here, and so I measure it, from the front here, make sure that is 3 inches from the edge. And then you can kind of mess around with the height of the mic, like getting down lower, like bringing it down lower so that the face of it is right at the rim, or a little higher, or a little pitched towards it a little bit. You can make those, like, do test adjustments on the zoom and then check and see, which one, which setting gives you the best, like, strong, robust snare tone. Because for me, that's really what I'm looking for, more than anything else, is I want that snare drum to be prominent, cracking, sounded great, up front, no noise around, like we talked about signal to noise ratio. I just want to hear that nice crack. And then same thing with the bass drum. If I feel that it's a deep, resounding thud, and it's coming up from the really low, but it's not slow and fat, it's like tight, then I'm happy. That's the 2 things I'm kind of listening for. And that's easy to achieve here. You've got your, and then the last little step of it is having that bass drum, like, 8 to 10 inches, 10 inches up to a drumstick's, length, or even further. That's kind of my boundary mic, and that seems to work well. I don't know why exactly, but when I switched to this John Bonham style of the sealed bass drum, and the only thing you have to muffle is I've got a felt strip on both sides, just so you don't get that kind of boing boing basketball tone, that happens sometimes when it's sealed. It's just a little boing boing. Well, the felt strip gets rid of that. And what I find is having the mic back a little bit makes it sound really fast and just good, and deep and good. So that was my logic on that. I don't think that that's something Albini did. But I do back that microphone off, and you can play with that. But I find that it sounds faster and like more banging, just more, resounding when it's back that far, as opposed to like getting it too close. And my original way I found that out is this drum would start kind of walking while I was recording, and I found that it didn't sound as good when it walked out. It was sounding better when it was closer, when it was further away, before it walked out by, kind of making its way across the carpet or the floor. Okay, so it's those 4 microphones. We've got this one out here, so you don't have to worry about it being out of phase with any of this. These 2, which are in phase with each other, and this one, which is far enough away, it's not getting involved, no phase issues. And you'll know right away because the snare will sound super weak, or this will sound, something will react with the other microphone, and you'll be able to tell right away. So luckily none of that is in play with this setup. That's why I love it. So easy to, set up the microphones and not have to sit there and worry about phase. And also, when I tried to do more microphones, it actually made the drum sound smaller. I don't know why exactly, probably a phase thing. But the less microphones actually made the drum sound bigger and got rid of the extra sounds I was capturing that weren't actually complementary. So I think there's some really good geometry and physics to the way he set these mics up that captures things the correct way, because this one straight down to the snare drum here, this one aimed towards the bass drum, and sort of this is kind of capturing this side of the kit, this one's sort of capturing this side of the kit. Then you've got the snare drum devoted to this, the snare mic, which also picks up the hats, and then that one out there which picks up the bass drum and anything else that's kind of coming off because it's back a bit. But mainly low stuff, because that one's pretty low cut. Alright, so that's what I do with the microphones. Now, this one here, this large diaphragm condenser, runs into trouble with the zoom, because I don't know if you've noticed this yet, we've talked about this many times with friends of the channel and with on other videos, that the phantom power here suffers greatly. It's just not that good, and it's not enough to power this mic correctly. I've experimented with that enough, because it would be great to just plug it in directly and not have to use any outboard gear, but it's just not really realistic if you want to get a professional sound off these types of microphones. So I've got this on minus 20 dB, and then it goes to my trusty Rane MS1B preamplifier. It's a real clean, neutral sounding preamp, and then from that I go to the zoom. And now that I'm in input 1, and I've got usually have to drop that channel down to like minus 10 because it's really loud. And I don't even play that hard. I've learned that. My playing is, I used to think I played hard, but I hardly hit these heads at all. I've had these heads on here for a while, and after seeing other drummers, especially our drummer, basically like all the heads look like a hailstorm, So I know he's hitting hard. I'm not hitting that hard, so I don't have to worry too much about the peaking and all that. But I do have to bring this channel down quite a bit. My high Z is off, and the other 4 strips, I'm going to put them up to unity gain, and then kind of just dial in the gain as I go, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But mainly what you want to do is have your fader at 0, this master fader, so that you're getting we talked about signal to noise ratio. You want to make sure you're operating at that unity gain level, all the way up at 100 on that master. Same thing on the channels, and I'm going to do that on all 3, on this channel, on the bass drum, and on this track, channel strip. But on the first one, where I went from the large diaphragm condenser to the preamp to the zoom, that one's dialed way back, even with this cut at 20 dB, just because it's loud. So I'll hit record. Actually, that's perfect right there. So now I arm each track, arm that one, arm 2, arm 3, arm 4. They're all red. I'm going to go to pan EQ and make sure that each track is at 100. And then I'm going to make my way all the way over to the master and make sure that's at 100. Now obviously the snare is not at 100. I've got that pulled way down. But on the other ones where I want it to be at 100, it's a simple, quick, check. Make sure that each channel is at 100 unity gain, and that your channel strip is at 100. And that way you don't worry about recording like a weak signal and you're kind of confused as to why. Just make sure you got all that kind of stuff set up the way you want to set it up. Also, with this recorder man technique, you can record the drums where you pan left, like say to 40 to 50, pan right on this one, say 40 to 50. You can also do that in post, but you can record that way. So like back in the day when I was recording on tape, I would have to do that, because there's no way to change this stuff later, because there was no digital. It was all, staying in analog world. And so, because I would go from the 38 8-track deck, which was on half-inch tape, down to a quarter-inch 2-track tape. So you had to have everything you wanted to have, on that tape going to your mixdown tape. There was no magic in between, no computer stuff. So you had to make sure to have that panning, to get that sort of bigger stereo spread. Which is another cool thing about this type of miking, is it does give you that big stereo spread if you're into that, which I am. Okay, so you've got all your tracks engaged. Effects. I have been using no effects lately. I just haven't, mainly because I've experimented a lot with the vocal, and I've come down to only using mic number 1 on that one, the first mic, as opposed to the dual mic. And then I used to use, on dual mic, I used to use, oh shoot, what was that called? Well, I'm forgetting. It was number 26, Big Shape. I used to use Big Shape, but it just started sounding too hyped, and I didn't like the idea that this mic was, affected, this mic was affected, but then these two weren't. So I was sort of like, maybe we'll just go with no effects, get a really good clean tone, make sure it's hot, that's the most important thing, and that it's good, and that the drum's in tune. I can't guarantee these are in super tune right now, but when I track, they'll be in tune. And that you've got this muffler on this just right. This is a really cool Gene Krupa Slingerland snare from like probably 69, somewhere between 69 and 71, but I love it. It has a little muffler in there, and it gives I never hear any kind of off tones because of that. Before that, I had to really get it tuned perfectly. Once I started learning how to use that internal muffler where it's touching the drum head, it got rid of all the overhang and ring. Amazing. Okay, so no effects, plug directly in, all 4 tracks are armed. Now the most important thing is you want to make sure you get good signal. You want to make sure you're not peaking on anything. So I'm going to start with the snare, and I'm just going to look over at track 1 and just, and the trick with this is you want to play like you're really playing, so eventually you'll kind of play a piece of it. But let's say I'm just going to check my level with my snare drum, and I've already got it sounding pretty good. Now let's check this overhead here. And then we're going to check this overhead, and I'm going to engage the bass drum because this mic points at the bass drum, at least on the batter side. And I want to see these two mics peaking at the same point, which is, -6 or whatever. You do not want to see any red anywhere. You don't want to see it on the little peak light up here. You don't want to see it on your channel strip where the track is being recorded, and you definitely don't want to see it over here on the master. If you see it over on the master, it's done. You might get away with it a little bit over here with a snare drum if it peaks a little bit on the actual channel, because you just won't notice it. As long as it doesn't make that horrible kind of, distorted digital tone. But if it's peaking a little bit, it'll be okay. But it's not desirable. You can't really peak in digital. You got to stay down, because in tape, you can push this stuff and it just compresses nicely. Not here. So you don't want to mess with your signal. Make sure you're not messing that up, because that's really annoying to go through all this work and then, have it be distorted in some way. You're going to start over. It's just a nightmare. Okay, I left my headphones over there, but if I had my headphones, I would be putting them on and playing along to this track. So what I usually do is I'll decide on a BPM. This song is 138, and I will get my guitar and plug in directly to the Zoom, and basically the entire arrangement of the tune is played out. This will just start with that, and then I'll play the entire arrangement of the song, and that's the song. And I cannot make many mistakes there. I don't want to make mistakes timing wise. I can make a mistake with the playing, but not with the timing. The timing has to be on beat, because that's what you're going to drum to. Then once I get done with that, I've got the headphones on, I've got my metronome light on. I can turn on the signal if I want to, but usually I just put the light on so I can look over at it and just make sure, every once in a while, just make sure that snare and this hand is joined up with that light. And then I'm listening to the guitar and I'm playing along. Then I have my drum track. Once I have my drum tracks, my 4 drum tracks, then I've got something to play along to when I really retract the guitars, track the bass, any other guitar, and then vocals. So it's great. It's a great system. It's just, you know, tricky, and you have to execute at each point. If you don't lay that guitar track down correctly, you're going to play the drums to it, and there's going to be that little glitch. If you do something, you know, in the drums that you don't get sorted, when you go to play guitar, it's still going to be there. And there's every song, there's always a little something I'm trying to overcome and cover up. So this song, since I've already done it once and it's in 4/4, it's a lot easier than the other songs I've been doing. I want to take my time and get it to sound really good. I want these drums to sound great because, like I said, the songs that I recorded that I didn't end up using, I recorded 4 songs after recording this song originally. During that time period, I just got a lot better at recording. Just time in the saddle, working away, and now I listen back to this song and the other one, and they don't sound as good. Like, you can't even really include them. They sound different. So I'm having to re-record this. But this is buying me time because I've got to write 2 more songs, maybe 3, because I don't think I'm going to use the last tune on the record. So now I've got to write 3 more songs, which is, you know, a bit of a challenge. But while I'm recording this, I can work on that. So I still have stuff I can do with the channel, still stay in here, not lose focus, you know, not get distracted, stay focused on the record, record this. That keeps me in the game, keeps me making videos, you know, staying active, and then hopefully in the meantime get those other songs written, get this thing finished. So I really want to, that's my goal, is just to finish it. That's all I want to do, is just get through the process so that I've said, okay, I've made another record to follow up the last one. So I'm just going to try to stay focused, re-record this, and then get those other tunes written. I'd written another one, but I'll be honest and say that it had the same feel as the one before that got me so frustrated. And I just felt like, man, this one is the same deal. It has like cool things going on, but it's the complete thought is a little off. And I don't want to dive back into another one of those and just, you know, go through that again. So I'm just going to wait till I know for sure that the song is at least good enough, you know, for the songs I've been recording before I move forward. So wish me luck on that. I'm going to be working on recording these drums this entire song while I try to get the rest of those songs done. Okay, so we know our levels are good. We've checked all that. Let me just grab my headphones real quick so I can just play along to this a little bit and show you. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, it takes forever to get back here. Once I set all these mics up, it gets these cymbals, and it's already very squeezed in here as it is. Okay, so got the headphones. Now, like I said, I'm going to be playing along to the guitar track that I'm going to do directly into the Zoom, and I'll be able to listen to that. And if I want to, I can use a metronome, you know, the click track. Click, click, click. More than likely what I'll do is just look down at the light and sing along, play along to that guitar track. Right now I have the original song that I can practice to, and I'll just show you what I'm up against here real quick. This is the drum part, and it's really not hard. In fact, I'm looking forward to playing it. I'll find it to be fun because shoot, let me just see what's happening in here before I do this. Okay, yeah, that'll work. Alright, so You can turn on the click track. In my case, I just look at the light. But right now I'm going to play along to the old version and just show you a few bars of that. But when I actually track, I'll be playing along to the new guitar part. Because this one has too many mistakes. I could just replace the drums on this one and then replace the neck, keep replacing bits. But this one has, like I said, if you make a mistake while you're playing the guitar, the mistakes continue. And I started off too fast. So tempo is important because speeding up, slowing down really screws the songs up. Doesn't sound good. Okay, so here's this song. So here's what I'll be doing. I'll have the guitar track playing. I'm going to hit play. I'm listening. I've got the metronome on. I mean, I don't have the click, but I'm looking at it. Okay, so I've got a little click going on in here. I'll try to line up with it. Sorry. Keep doing false starts. Okay, just gotta wait a few seconds here. I'll do at least 2 clicks. Sorry, I didn't know where that ended, so I was about to end it. I couldn't remember how many times I did it. I'm going to do it, the outro will be like a total of 8 times. Just because I can sing that. Give me my Give me my... Okay, so that's what'll happen. Now, the other thing I can do at the end where it's like... The way I used to do it was the little halftime thing, so it'd be like... Instead I'm doing that. That added more excitement to it. The halftime thing was like... But I think this is just more energy. It's like... More dramatic. Alright, so that's my logic for that. And this song is a good way to kick things off. It's like super high energy. I mean, not super high energy, but it's up 4/4. Kicks off the record nicely. So that's what I'm going to focus my energy on, is getting this song recorded, make it really good, you know, make it sound better than the last one, and hopefully get it. Hopefully the next video will be debuting a new song, because I was gonna come in here and do that tune, but just, when I played it in here, I was just like, man, I'm not doing another one of these where it's like got cool elements but something's off. And I'll be honest with you, it does not get better. Whatever's wrong right away with the song, it stays wrong, and it just gets worse. So it's kind of like a movie. You know, like if the really great films, if you go read the screenplay, if you're into reading screenplays and you know how to read them so that they're not impossible to follow, you can tell when it's going to be a good movie, because the screenplay is awesome. I got to read the screenplay for Ghost World because my friend Bruce was in it, the Dan Close movie. And man, oh man, I read that thing, I was like, this is the best screenplay I've ever read. Man, it was so well written. It was like reading like a really good book. Usually screenplays are boring. So right then they knew they had a good movie, or at least the screenplay was great. Can't guarantee the movie will be great, but if the screenplay sucks, the movie's definitely going to suck. So if there's something wrong, like with the construction of the song, if something's off and you can feel it and you're like, oh, good, that'll be okay, because this will happen and I'll have this cool guitar part and I'll sing this and it'll be fine. Well, I find that it doesn't end up being fine. It just, you know, gets worse. So I want to make sure that the next one does not have that issue. I just want smooth sailing. All right. So hopefully everybody out there is, you know, doing well with their projects, making progress, feeling good about what they're doing, understanding the machine, its limitations, but also its awesomeness, that it's so cheap, you know, it's still around. We can talk to each other and figure out the best ways to use it. I love that. So if there's anything I can do to help anyone, you know, about anything, just, you know, it's my thing right now, is I feel better when I'm doing things for other people, like instead of self-focus, focusing on others, or at least being open to help others, you know, as opposed to just constantly thinking about your own trip. So if there's anything I can do to help anyone, it sure does make me feel good. It's part of the channel now, and I really like helping people out and passing along information, because it ends up helping me. A, it feels great to help someone, and B, you end up figuring stuff out, because I'm not like the most, it's crazy that I tell people how to do this kind of thing, because it's not really that technically savvy or advanced or anything like that, which goes to show you that anyone can do it. That's the beauty of home recording. Anyone can get in here with their Zoom and start working. It's just a matter of just doing it and not giving up. You know, if your results are not great at the very beginning, which they won't be, don't give up, don't get discouraged. If you're listening to somebody else's stuff and it sounds better than yours, don't compare. Just start working on figuring out how to make yours sound better. All right, next time.